Hello and welcome to the second season of Nails and Hammers podcast. In this season, I'll be talking to comedians, artists, and content creators to know more about their journeys and understand how they take decisions and solve problems in their day to day lives. Our guest today is Atul Khatri, who is one of India's finest stand up comedians, and we talk to Atul about the ins and outs of performing stand up comedy, from writing to delivery to performing on stage. Hi Atul, thank you so much for taking the time out for the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kushal.
All right. So I think let's set the premise. के अभी in your journey, you did your open mic. You had a corporate career. You were wanted to try something new, bored of this monotonous life. You did an open mic that went well. Even I started. I have a similar journey. Have a corporate career. Kind of bored. Did an open mic that went well. So there's this production called Unskilled Immigrants in Seattle. तो उसके साथ I did an open mic. तो अभी फर्स्ट ओपन माइक के बाद व्हाट वाज योर जर्नी?
So first of all, the first open mic which I did, I was fortunate. तभी क्या होता था बॉम्बे में open mics होते थे तो I can keep it English. What do you
Yeah,
want?
English is fine.
English is fine. Whatever open mics used to happen, there used to be sort of an award or reward, basically. The best comedian of that night, the best open micer, and who you should decide, which was very, very fair. If the audience used to decide, okay, who's the
Makes sense.
funniest.
Makes
So at
sense.
the end of that, depending on based on the claps, and then they would say, okay, who you guys are, just say the names and the number of maximum claps that person got against his name, that was declared the winner. And obviously, when you're seeing a night, even if you go and watch any other six comedians, by the end of the evening, you know who was the best among them.
For sure.
So that night, fortunately, I won that comedy open mic, my first time in an event. So obviously, I didn't sleep that night when I went home. The rush was crazy.
हाँ.
The adrenaline rush was crazy, and I felt, I need to do more. Actually, just to let you know, I had not told my children about it that I'm going.
Right.
Just my wife and I went. Kids thought we were just going for dinner. So it was morning. We told them, and they were saying, "Oh, so cool, cool." That time, my elder daughter was 17, younger was 15. They think, "Hey,
Yep.
that's so cool that you went for a comedy thing." And that sort of, you know, it's like an addiction. You want to go.
The
You want
rush
to
is
do it again.
amazing.
Yeah, you want to do it again. You know. And so then, fortunately, the first time I went, I met a lot of comics there. I came to know which are the other open mics which are happening in Mumbai. So I started registering for them. I started going for some comedy shows because one good thing which I did, which I advise I get to all comedians, is that please go and watch comedy. Whichever city you are, there is whatever comedy is happening. Could be an open mic, could be this. If you are really very very interested in stand up comedy, one thing which you have to do is go and watch live stand up comedy happening in your city. Could be a Desi comic, could be since you're from Seattle, could be any American comic. When I was in US uh, now in April, May, June for my tour, and I was alone. So every free night I used to go and see
Okay.
whatever comedy shows. Like in Austin, I went to see the Comedy Mothership. I saw a show there. I went and watched a lot of other open mics happening to start taking part. Fortunately, in Mumbai, that time there was a proper comedy club called the Comedy Store, which
Yeah.
later on became the Canvas Laugh Club.
Yep.
So that was a proper venue, 315 seater, beautifully managed venue where you could go and consume comedy. And I used to, like, I told my wife, like, I'm really enjoying this after work. I'm going to go there. So I used to go there very, very often,
Makes sense.
just to watch comedy. And then I did my open mic at the Comedy Store. Fortunately, I won that also. And then, like, I started my journey somewhere in Feb 2012, and by September 2012, I was going up on stage pretty regularly at the Comedy Store with those 10-15 minute spots we used to get. Yeah.
Okay. Were you like doing the same set again and again at different places or writing new things initially?
Some good advices which I got right initially, and that's the advice I give to all open micers. You please perform for the audience, don't perform for the fellow comedians.
Okay.
What happens, you're having a group of, like, you have this illegal immigrants. You all must be going everywhere together or performing together. Somehow there's a pressure on you from the other comedians that write new.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And I've seen open micers who hardly done 6 months in the business, and they say, I have a 1 hour special. There's a sudden urgent need for open micers to do a 1 hour special because they see everybody's doing a 1 hour special, everybody's touring the country. Even I want to do it. Take your time. You have to have good, solid material. But today, people are not. You could have 1 hour of crappy material, makes no sense.
Yeah, fair.
Have a good 1 hour set, which will take time. If you know, most comedians worldwide take around 1.5 2 years to develop a 1 hour special. Very very tight special, which they release it on the OTT platforms and things like that. So
Yeah.
similarly, I used to do the same set. Coming back to your question, maybe the same set, because somebody told me like don't perform for the comedian because there's a pressure on the on
Yeah.
you.
And they're quite cynical comedians when they are an audience. The
Obviously,
general,
obviously,
yeah.
they will not. They don't laugh. They're always
Yeah,
judging.
exactly.
They'll come and tell you, "Oh, this set, similar set to so and so had done
Hmm, hmm,
in
hmm.
this and things like that." You go and see the set are very different. Maybe the premise is same, but your jokes can be totally different.
Yeah.
So don't listen to comedians. Listen to the audience because the audience changes.
Hmm.
And yes, as a comedian, as a writer, you keep on writing.
Yeah.
And when you're sort of getting on stage for the first time or you're new to it, you tend to write much more. Later on in your career, then you start, you know,
Hmm.
your writing doesn't is not as frequent because you are sort of whatever thoughts, ideas you
Yeah.
have you already put up over there. So then you make it more nuanced. Your
Hmm.
writing style has changed over the years. You've become better in writing,
Hmm.
and you yourself. And sometimes when you see your old videos of 7 years, 8 years back, you say, "Shit, what crap I used to say on stage?
Yeah.
How the hell I used to talk like that?"
Exactly.
So
Makes
that
sense.
happens. That happens to everybody.
Yeah, like starting like coming back to your point about tightening a set. The thing is कि जो when like for new open micers like myself, like चूस जाते हैं सेम का सेम सेट करके. Even the family members or friends वो भी सेम का सेम jokes सुन के चूस जाते हैं. So how did you make the set tighter yourself? How improve your
No, I
jokes?
first of all try to take feedback. I know
Yeah.
most of the comedians are cynical, but tell them, listen, give me some tags if you want. Maybe I've forgotten some more elements within that joke.
Yeah.
For example, if you're, I don't know, talking about a particular food, see,
Mm-hmm.
you may have explored with your own exposure, with your own opinions. Some 5 minutes set. See that five can become seven. Can you add more tags to it? You know, can
Makes
you go
sense.
further deeper? In that same joke. And sometimes when you see other comedians, like I remember seeing Chris Rock's one set where he talked about some particular topic and he went on and on and on, and I think he squeezed out each and every possible angle of that joke.
Yep.
So like that, sometimes I have seen, like, I've got inspired so many times, like, my god, it's such a small thing where he took it
Mhm.
you know
Yep.
so same thing, my joke is just right now it's a 4 or 5 minute, let me see whether so the joke evolves, the joke grows.
Hmm.
Maybe after 6 months you'll realize that one pause in that particular joke
Hmm.
got so much laughter which never happened before.
True. Yeah.
I've been doing this one joke, I would say, for 4 years, five. It's like an opening joke which I do. Just I think 2 months back, I just put a pause there and I was getting such an applause break. I
Hmm.
never realized that. It just happened, coincidentally, that I stopped there and suddenly because maybe when I was saying the joke earlier, a lot of people were just laughing without understanding the joke. When I paused there, it gave them a moment to understand the joke and give a much bigger laughter.
Yep.
I was once performing with a very, very popular Malaysian comedian. His name is Har Skandar.
Okay.
Uh, Har, he's been doing comedy for 35 years.
Oh
He's
wow.
the legend in Malaysian comedy. He has a Netflix special also.
Hmm.
And he was performing in a festival, and he was doing the set which he was going to perform there. He
Hmm.
was doing it for 15, 20 years. Okay.
Wow.
But still before the show, he was pacing up and down, rehearsing his
Yeah.
lines and things like that. And I said, and that's a kind of, it's absolutely okay. Yes, there should be, you should write more. I'm not saying you should just stick to that 5 minute segment, but I'm saying don't, again, once last thing, you're performing to the audience, not. And as long as the audience laughs,
That's all.
your joke is funny. Don't listen to your comedians. They'll say, "Oh, nobody comedians, so don't laugh only." As,
Exactly.
as you know,
Yep.
they're horrible human beings, so they don't laugh on other comedians' jokes.
Yep. For
And
sure.
then
And
what
like
happens? They have their own favorites. Okay,
true.
this
Ha.
comedian. So when that comedian comes, they'll go and any silly joke he just does a premise also. They'll, oh, ha ha ha, so
हाँ वो
funny,
तो
so
होना ही
funny.
है.
Ha.
Exactly.
But other than that, there is, just go with your own flow.
Makes sense. And like speaking of writing, तो आपने लिखना कैसे चालू किया? Like because जो जोक का स्ट्रक्चर होता है, premise setup, punchline. So how did you read about that? How did you write, convert observations into those jokes?
No, I didn't read anything. Okay, when I wrote my first set, so
Mhm.
obviously I'd seen some stand-up comedy,
Mhm.
like happening live in my city. I'd seen comedians perform. I used to go to the comedy store, seeing, people. That time Veer was starting out, Tanmay Bhatt was starting out.
Yep.
This is, I'm talking about 2012, 2011, 2012. So I went and saw a lot of, what are they talking about? What are people laughing about?
Yep.
So when I wrote my first set, I had not written any. I didn't have any
Mhm.
training, neither did I have any friends. I was very old that time. I'm still old. I was 44 then. I'm 55 now. So, just I wrote just what I found funny. Okay, I
Yeah.
went on stage. Yeah, obviously some things like when you get on stage, you say, "Hi, my name is Atul Khatri. Introduce yourself." Before when you're closing, thank you. You've been a great audience. Some two, three
Mm-hmm.
those things I
True.
learned. But
True.
other than that, uh, I wrote something which I didn't know whether it'd be funny or no. It was funny, and so yeah, so that's the thing. But usually, how do I write jokes? It's first a thought in my head which
Yeah.
expands, 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 and then I'll finally put it on paper on a
Mm-hmm.
laptop. I will
Mm-hmm.
write it down, and when I write it down, I can see more tags I can add
True.
because
True.
when you're sitting writing down, Aram says, you get more angles, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Also, a lot of things you can like pick it up from things which have happened.
Yeah.
Something would have changed outside in the world, which can, which you feel can get into a joke, so it becomes like I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing this joke for 3 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, of recently, this I talk about some colors, or I go to somewhere, I see different colors on the
Mm-hmm.
wall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm commenting on the colors, and now there was this lady who became very popular.
Mm-hmm.
It was an Instagram meme. She became that, oh, what a wow, what a elegant,
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So her daughter is selling something. She has
Yes.
some color. She calls laddu pila color,
Yes.
mouse color, this color, that color. So when I was that old
Exactly.
set of mine, I just added laddu pila color in that, and people erupted
Yeah.
because they
Exactly.
thought, oh, it's like he's with the current trends.
Mm-hmm. So trend se be aware and it's like very important today.
Absolutely.
Jokes
As a
में.
comedian, you have to know what's happening. You have to read a lot. You have to understand what's happening in the world. You can't come up on stage and say, I don't know what's happening in Israel, Gaza. I don't know what's happening in Russia. You can fuck it. I don't read newspaper and all that. Once you are, crowd feels you're much more intelligent. You are up to date with, if you know what's happening around. Yeah, like for example, I always try to bring some kind of, at least in the opening joke, some of the things which are happening
Mm-hmm.
around. So that immediately connects with the audience.
Makes sense.
And
And
it
like,
could also be when you're traveling in a new city. Like I went to New Zealand. So one of the things which I do usually when I go to a new city or a country, I usually, if I have time in the morning before the show, I take like a walking tour.
mm-hmm.
So those walking tour guides,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
tell you about the history of the city, the history of the
True.
country. And there's something which you can pick up. Like I went for a similar thing. I was performing in Auckland in New Zealand. I didn't know. I'm sure you also don't know. New Zealand doesn't have snakes. There are no
Oh, wow.
snakes in New
I
Zealand. The
don't.
entire country, yeah, they've never entered. They've never got snakes.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have scorpions. So apparently, that's one of the. That's why you can go and hike in the New Zealand mountain.
Wow.
There's one poisonous bat and a poisonous spider, which are also not too many in number,
Mm-hmm.
which can kill you. Otherwise, you can. And I don't think they have too many wild animals. They have bears or something, but
Okay.
they don't have leopards and things like that roaming freely in some of the
Mm-hmm.
mountains and things like that. As the result of which, so when I went there, I found out there was an election happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the day I was performing, next day was the election in New Zealand. They were
Okay.
electing for the new prime minister.
Okay.
So I just went up on stage. Okay, all the national party people who were supporting national,
Mm-hmm.
and how, all the Democrats, whatever the two
Mm-hmm.
parties, make a loud noise.
Mm-hmm.
I said, then I said, whoever you vote for, aayega to Modi. So
Yeah.
see, you laughed, even they so laughed a lot. So it was
Exactly.
just a stupid joke,
Yeah.
made no sense to the election, but it just, resonated very well with it.
Definitely. और फिर आपका डू यू हैव अ राइटिंग रूटीन की लाइक व्हेन यू आर एट होम या ट्रैवलिंग मतलब बैठ
नहीं,
के
I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy. I'm very lazy. I don't बैठ के
whenever you have
लिखता
a
नहीं हूँ.
thought you
मेरे
type.
most of my thought. So I have a routine in the sense wherever I'm every alternate day I try to go for a long walk,
Yeah.
and in the long walk I try to sort of just go through my set, some new ideas, see that I
Mhm.
can expand it. An old joke with I can make it further,
Mhm.
longer, or things like that.
So type it
Yeah.
out in your phone then as you have a thought.
No, I may put it up on voice recorder or something as a thought, but or make a small note of it. But usually I try to keep it in my head, or you know,
Mhm.
which is not a good idea. You should put it down. But at fun time when I've written the set,
Mhm.
I will put it down. I will put it down on a piece of paper, and as I said earlier, you'll get more tags and more jokes out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how do you brainstorm? Whom do you get feedback from?
No, yeah. Unfortunately, earlier there used to be, there was a very few comedians. Like I was a part of East India Comedy. You could brainstorm. You could run your
Yeah.
jokes to other people. But nowadays, this industry has totally changed. Everybody's become, very busy. Everybody is there. So typically you don't. So I think the only best way to do is through open mics. Go try your jokes with the audience. The
Mhm.
audience finds it funny. It's
Mhm.
okay. You're fortunate if some good comedian is sitting in the audience and he gives you a tag later on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
Ex-
uh, I like if I see a comedian who's coming to watch my show, I always tell him, hey, dude, please make some notes, send it to me later on, you know. Or
Fair
when
enough.
I go to some other comedian's show, I make
You
notes,
reciprocate.
and it not even reciprocate. Like I recently went sometime back, I went for Rahul Subramanian show, the new one which he's doing right now, and I made a lot of notes, and then next day I messaged him, okay, hey, I made notes. Is it okay I share it with you?
True.
And he said, yeah, of course, sir, please give it to me. Then I sent all those notes to him. Then he called me back. We had a discussion about that. Then he told me this particular joke, I am struggling to end it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me how can I end the joke? The premise is super, but I don't know how to end it. You know, we
Makes
discussed
sense.
about it. I don't know. I have not seen after that how he has shaped that, but
Mm-hmm.
just, because today people don't have time. So I think anybody giving you time, giving you,
Mm-hmm.
help in, because finally we look at it as a writer perspective,
Yeah,
it's
true.
like, yeah.
And it's always like feedback is quite tricky because somebody might not appreciate. It's always good to like ask, is it okay if I give you feedback? And also,
Yeah.
I find Indians to be quite competitive. कहाँ भी जाओ, like people don't give feedback. कि, अरे इसका कटेगा, कट
अरे
ले
we
रहा
have 1.4 billion हमको बचपन से कंपटीशन सिखाया है.
हाँ, definitely.
You forget that आप दूध दूध खरीदने जाओ उसके लिए लाइन होती है. I
हाँ,
mean basic things के लिए you have fought all your life.
हाँ.
और वो तो अभी मोदी जी आए हैं, he has made us very strong in terms of queues. you know 5,000 का क्यू, 500 का क्यू, 1,000 का क्यू, 2,000 का क्यू. So that's why we are now become बुलंद.
Yeah,
Otherwise पहले तो Indians used to always look at things to sort of avoid queues.
for sure. और दूसरा the second important part of stand up is like delivery, working on delivery and all. आपने लिख लिया, but then how did you work on your delivery? Like the pause you mentioned before. How did
Yeah.
you work on that?
No, that just happens with keeping on going on stage, doing that same set. You get comfort. See, first time when you do this, you're written a set. First time you're trying to memorize the lines,
Yeah. Yep.
whether the lines are okay, the beats are okay. After
Mm-hmm.
maybe after 20 times, you start, okay, now I remember the lines, the beats are okay. Let me now play around with it. You know,
True.
like for example, what happens? Like I come and like I do sometimes ads, auditions I go for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when they audition your ad, they've given you a
Yeah.
script. The
Yep.
first time when they're auditioning you, you are, you're just trying in your head to memorize and keeping the lines
Yep.
intact, how they want it. By seventh time, eighth time when you're doing the take, the
Mm-hmm.
last take will always be, "Okay, let me know. I've understood the dialogue. Everything is fine." That even the director says, "Yeah, this take is good." Then
Mm-hmm.
most comedians, I mean, most actors, or rather, I do it. I say, "Yes, sir, give me one more take where I just now want to do all out.
Okay.
Now I've understood the lines. Now let me just play with myself. Let me pause
Yeah.
somewhere. So like that also it will happen to you where
Mm-hmm.
when you hone the set, when you written the set so properly, that at some time, then after some time you will say that, okay, now let me just play around with it. Let me just go easy. Let me change the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Makes
me do
sense.
some, yeah, yeah. So like that. So it takes time. The performance part, it takes time. How much more you go on stage.
Mhm. So like as you were like you evolved in the comedy career, you joined EIC. So in EIC there were a group of like five, six
We were seven of
comedians,
us. We were seven of
seven,
us. Yeah.
seven of you. So like how did you maintain your own individuality as part of a collective?
So there were two aspects to it. One was your own stand-up comedy. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I'm having a show, so that is your own individual. You're writing your own stand-up. Yes, he was very good as a collective because seven minds coming together, you
Yeah.
know, and you learn a lot from, like I was what 46, 47 when I was at EIC.
Mm-hmm.
Sahil Shah, was the youngest guy, must have been 20.
Wow.
That's the age gap.
Wow.
So he's the youngest in the group. So just learning from them and just seeing how their perspective to the same thing. Maybe also so many things which I didn't know of, these new terms these kids talk about, these words which they use, I never thought about. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I had an entire set on that.
Yeah.
Like I had a small routine on how working with these young comedians.
Yep.
So which came out of that only because I was working with these guys and. So it was damn good, especially the writing process. Like we wrote some awards, we wrote a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sketches together. We had so many shows. We did EIC versus the world, EIC versus Bollywood.
Yep.
All those shows all collectively sort of written, sort of collectively brainstormed, you know.
Okay.
And so there were some aspects where you are doing your own stand-up even in
Okay.
that show. But there was some where all of us came together. We had some small sketches and things like that. It was just beautiful to see how everything came together. Finally, at the end of it, most comedians we remember we go for the joke.
Yeah.
Funniest that
Yep.
joke
Yep.
is the thing. It's no ego kind
Mm-hmm.
of a thing. If your joke is funny, you're funny. That's about it.
And also like at this stage of your career, you had left your full-time job. You're full-time into comedy.
Yeah, 2016 I left. My 2012 I did my opener. 4 years later, 2016 I quit my job and got full time into comedy. Yeah.
Okay, and EIC भी same timeline पे हुआ कि बाद में हुआ?
हाँ, AIC पे 2014 से शुरू हुआ
Okay,
and we sort of ungrouped in 2017, 2018. Yeah.
okay, makes sense.
2017 actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense. And were you also doing like other shows, paid shows along with EIC?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course, of course, of course, of course.
Okay,
That was there because my individual and all of us were doing it. It's not me. Everybody was doing their own individual shows. Like Sahil, Sapan, they tend to do a lot of more college shows.
yeah,
They were doing those college shows. I tend to do more corporate shows. I was doing my corporate shows and things like that. Yeah.
makes sense. And then speaking of corporate shows, how did you enter into this world of corporate comedy?
The first show I did was got to me by Aditi Mittal.
Okay,
She's like a senior comedian.
okay,
She was
yeah.
like doing comedy 2 years before me. So I remember it was a show in Jaipur
Mm-hmm.
for this company called Sodexo, which is a
Okay,
very
yeah,
French company.
yeah.
They do this. They have these
Meal,
coupons and
yeah,
they do facility management.
yep.
They do facility management. A lot of big corporations. So it was their show in Jaipur. I
Okay,
think they wanted like 2, 3 comedians. So she
yeah.
got me over there, and
But sorry, like the corporate culture existed. The corporates knew that there is a thing called stand-up comedy and we can invite
it was
comedians.
new that time. It was new. It was new. It is
Okay,
still new. It's still
okay,
new in
yeah,
corporates.
yeah,
It's still not very established, but because what has happened is, so yeah, that was my first. But I'll tell you the other
sure.
part of it is that was my first show. I did very well, and because I'm a
Nice.
slightly older guy, people relate to me.
Yeah,
My
so
material is
professional
anyway
and all that.
very cleanish and things like that. Uh, no, what has happened is the reason why a lot of corporates still don't do comedy is because corporates to save money, they've
Mm-hmm.
got the wrong comedian. Okay.
Okay,
So
true.
I know instances where they have asked my quotation, I quoted something, they say, no, 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 this comedian is, 1/4 your price.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, comedy is comedy. Some HR guy takes a call who doesn't know shit about
Yeah,
comedy. Then he takes the guy, and
mm-hmm.
that guy goes on stage and says all the wrong words,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
not supposed to say in a corporate. I know people, then after that, they have banned comedy
Wow,
in the off sites and in the conference. No, no, no need to do comedy.
interesting.
Yeah,
Ha.
because he spoke wrongly to the MD or he used words which you're not supposed to use. See, corporate is very clear, like any other level, like even musicians and you talk to DJs, musicians,
Mm-hmm.
who perform for corporate. There's a line you have to follow.
True.
If you don't want to follow the line for whatever reason, a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm a comedian. I'll speak my mind." Then
Mm-hmm.
don't do corporate shows. Then you do your public shows, do your gigs and things like that. The corporate shows are for money,
Yeah.
and I honestly find them fun.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of challenges you.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say to write cleaner to theek hai. Most of my stuff is very clean only, but I'm just saying is that uh, it's like a lot of challenges over there. Like I've been for corporate shows where before the meeting they told me, sir, we are very liberal. Say what you want. You say the F word. You say the F
Mm-hmm.
word. Talk about sex. Talk about this. Whatever. In fact, my MD is a big fan, of your word benchos. Go and say it 2, 3 times on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens? I go on stage
Mm-hmm.
and I see, usually corporate there are like 400 guys
Mm-hmm.
and some 10 women sitting over there. Okay.
Yeah,
Most corporates in India,
yeah, yeah,
are still
definitely.
evolving. They don't have, proper gender
Mm-hmm.
ratios. So I don't do the jokes. I will
Makes
not
sense.
even say one sexual slang or anything because what
Yeah,
will
the
happen is
guys
I
will
will go
laugh.
away.
Yeah,
They will laugh, and every time they laugh, they look at those 6 women. "Ke wo
yeah,
log hase ke nahi?"
yeah.
That's one part. And what will happen after my show? I'll go away,
Mm-hmm.
and then these poor 6 women have to deal with these 400 men who are their colleagues. They
Mm-hmm.
know each other, but still, अरे तेरे को अतुल का वो joke समझ में आया कि नहीं? What he meant? They are like all that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to border on pure misogyny or whatever. Then I said I didn't do it. अरे सर आपने किया नहीं ऐसा यार तुम पहले अपना gender ratio ठीक
Mm-hmm.
करो फिर मैं करूँगा.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so it all depends actually. So and I honestly I enjoy corporate shows a lot because
Mm-hmm.
they pay also well, and also it's there are challenges. In fact, I
Mm-hmm.
feel sometimes they are more challenging than a public show because sometimes the bar is open.
Yeah.
I did a corporate show just maybe 15 days back where there were some 1,000 people in the audience.
Wow.
10 minutes before guy goes and announces that dinner is served, and suddenly 800 people just go out and walk out and have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is, oh, now please welcome us to Atul Khatri. I'm performing for 50 people in a room of 1,000 people.
Wow.
So
And
that's
everybody's
okay. I know.
eating and all that.
No, they were all eating behind, but
Okay.
only the committee members who had paid for me, they were sitting and watching me.
Yeah.
But I had a good time. I convinced myself I'm going to have a good time. I know I'm funny as long as you listen to a comedian. All
Mhm.
comedians are funny as long as you listen to them.
Yeah, definitely. So then इस time में how do you convince yourself, like how do you switch on कि अरे लोग चले गए, I mean तो negative vibe आता है कि अरे क्या perform करो, so how do you
No, I think that is something I've learned. I just convinced myself that
हाँ,
I'm going to have a good time on stage today. And
makes
what
sense.
happens is even the thousand, like I remember the 1,000 people, there were like this 30 people right in the front or somewhere they were sitting, and who were my fans. They came to watch me. They were like waiting.
Yeah.
They would say, okay, we'll have dinner later on. वैसे भी dinner पे तो अभी rush है. Suddenly 800 people have
हम्म.
gone for dinner.
Yeah.
There'll be a queue over there for the plates. They decided to sit over there. They decided I performed for those 30 people. More 30, 40 people joined. We had a great time. So
Nice.
it's a lot of time as a comedian. You have to realize you have to convince yourself. Okay,
Cool.
that the bar may be open. There'll be children running around. Something
Mhm.
else happening. And but you have to convince yourself that you're going to have fun. Once you only sort of get dejected in the bank, ये तो
हम्म.
कल show है, I'm going
हम्म.
to bomb, I'm going to bomb, you manifest it, then you
हम्म.
are going to bomb.
Cool.
And it has happened to me many times. Yeah,
And I think everybody evolves कि खुद का तुम you realize कि no, you have to convince yourself, you have to be positive and all that. But then what if
yeah.
nobody laughs? मतलब तो how do you deal, like on stage? People are not
Nobody
laughing at you.
laughs, nobody laughs, it's okay. Your jokes are not working. Maybe there was something wrong with you, maybe something wrong in the setting. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe they had a too long a day. Sometimes these corporates or things like that, they are such a long. And
Yeah.
as comedians, we come to know. There's a new comedy club open now in Mumbai. I've been going there very, very regularly, and you can just see the crowd. Like they were yesterday, there were like some 60 people in the audience,
Mhm.
and they were like dead. Like just out of the 60, 10 were laughing. There's 50. घर से कसम खा के आते हैं कि हम हंसेंगे नहीं. Yesterday I went, there were 12 people,
Mhm.
just 12 people. Same comedy club, 12 people.
Mhm.
Every night it changes.
Yeah.
And those 12 people were laughing like 200 people. It's
Wow.
just the audience. A lot of things, it's very dynamic. And that's the beauty of comedy. You
Yep.
can one day, you can be the best comedian on
Mhm.
earth, and you can go and you can bomb. And, the most open micer can go and kill the room. You know,
Yep. True. So do you still do open mics?
I still do open mics. Yeah, of course, you have to do open mics. Yeah.
And then like comedy का like performance में there is other bit where you have to switch on and switch off because you might be feeling lazy या कुछ घर में कुछ हो रहा है, for example गर्लफ्रेंड से झगड़ा हो गया, but स्टेज पे
Hmm.
जाके परफॉर्म करना है, तो how do you switch on?
Again, you have to convince you. First of all, I think the stage has this amazing aura to it. It's got this some life to it, so that when you go there, it helps you. At least in my case, I try to switch off.
Mhm.
My mom expired on April 14th this year,
Oh, sorry.
and she was suffering a lot. And April 15th, I had a show. It was like some 400-500 people had, they had sold tickets and things like that. And it was not fair on my part to cancel the show at the last minute because,
Mhm.
because you have to understand, I can very well say I had a very genuine reason. But the
Mhm.
thing is that you have, I've worked in a corporate. I understand business.
Yeah.
For a guy to organize a show selling 500 tickets, a lot of effort. You book the auditorium, get a ticketing website, sell tickets. They've gone outdoor, you put posters, they this, that. A lot of
Mhm.
things goes.
Yeah.
And I could have very well executed, but I spoke to my family members later on. They said, no, yeah, mom would have been more happy if I had gone done the show. You know,
Mhm.
let's be
Makes sense.
practical. I went and did the show. I just did my show and I came back to the room. But what I'm trying to tell you is that when I went on stage, obviously continuously before that, those thoughts were there. But once I went on stage, then you switch off, you switch on, and you have to realize, as a professional, those guys should not know about your problems. You go on stage and I tell you, the stage has got something in it
Mhm.
where it gives you that energy, you know,
Mhm.
to basically to power through this.
डेफिनेटली, और अगर मान लो कि शो अच्छा जाता है तो वो हाई भी होता है, तो स्विच
हाँ
ऑफ, हाउ डू स्विच ऑफ, कि लाइक घर आके नींद भी नहीं आती है?
हाँ हाँ, वो तो होता है. That's a very big thing. Every people have their own ways to deal with. I always say musicians. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I don't know, Taylor Swift.
या.
Going to a stadium where there are more people outside the stadium. उसको तो क्या
हाँ.
15 दिन नींद नहीं आएगी. The kind of high which she has.
एग्जैक्टली, सिएटल में
Performing.
अर्थक्वेक आ गया था.
हाँ,
न्यूज़ पेपर.
सिएटल में बोलते
या.
थे वो the earth was shaking. इतना
या.
था.
या.
And so I'm just trying to tell you is that for them, that's why you hear a lot of most of rock stars and things like that. They get into drugs and things like that, or they continuously need people with them around. So then they'll have those after parties where 50 of them are partying in the room. You hear stories. I don't know. There's alcohol,
या.
there's drugs, there's
या.
cocaine. All that thing happening because they don't want that high to go down. They want that high to go higher.
या.
And
For
at one
sure.
side, they just get exhausted. Then they'll sleep at 10 in the morning.
Wow.
They'll
Yeah.
sleep the entire day and things like that. For us comedians, at least maybe I think I'm slightly older. I will tend to believe that I'm more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
So that switch off procedure has to be there. Obviously, I'll probably go watch a movie or see
Mm-hmm.
something or things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally when you're exhausted at
You can sleep.
2:33, you'll go to sleep. But because what happens is nobody to share it. When you come home,
Yeah.
your wife is
Families
sleeping. You can't
asleep.
wake her up and
Yeah.
you can't wake her up at 12:30. Hey, I had a great. So she'll slap you. Okay, go and sleep. I have a work tomorrow. Go and sleep.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
Nice. And you also tour across the world, right? India, maybe across the world. So how's tour life like? How do you manage?
Yeah, of course, I have a manager who manage my entire
Mm-hmm.
business. I've always had manager. Earlier it was a company called OML. Now it's a company called Collective
Okay.
Artists, and so they've managed the entire tour. They speak to the promoters, all the tickets, hotels, all that has been taken care of. But it's great to tour. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
can get lonely also when you're
Yeah.
touring alone for 1.5 months. Like I was in the US for close to more than a month. After
Yeah.
that, I was in Europe for 45 days, and luckily, fortunately, my wife joined me in Europe
Nice.
for half of the tour. She joined me. I went to Australia and New Zealand. I went alone. So I try to keep myself busy by seeing the city. I love to walk,
Mm-hmm.
and I make it a point that suppose I recently reached Melbourne on I had a show on Friday, so or Thursday, or sorry, Saturday I had the show, and I
Mm-hmm.
reached there on Thursday. Just
Mm-hmm.
2 days earlier, you go there. So I
Mm-hmm.
had 3 days to walk around the zoo. I took a walking tour, understood about city, wrote some jokes,
Yeah.
and tried them for the first time. It was very Melbourne jokes.
Yeah. Those skill
Some
initially.
no, some work, some didn't work.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Nice.
fair enough. You're trying it for the first time. You don't know it will work.
Yeah. And like, what's your worst tour experience?
Many years ago, we did a tour in the UK. The promoter was he had no clue about the comedy market. He
Oh,
was like one of those Bollywood promoters
okay.
who came once to Bombay just for a thing, and he saw me performing and
Mm-hmm.
some other comedians performing. He said, "Fuck, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take it back to the UK." So he did some 6 shows with UK. He had no clue how to sell tickets.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
In fact, one show was so funny. I think he sold some 4 or 5 tickets, and the show
Oh.
was going to start at 7 o'clock. And at 7 o'clock, the promoter is missing. And I said, "Where the hell is he gone? Let me start the show. We don't mind performing for 4 people also."
Mm-hmm.
And I went on the road to see where he was, and he was actually like telling people that there's a free show, come, 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 come,
Oh,
like
wow.
"Acha,
To
acha,
fill the
let's fill
audience,
it up."
auditorium.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the problem
Interesting.
with him was that there's something wrong with him because he was telling us the shows are sold out and all, and when the shows are not sold out. I mean, be
Yeah,
truthful to
yeah.
a comedian, then we know we can work hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
His entire approach was because see, our comedian audiences are very different. You know,
Yeah.
like in the UK specifically, there are a lot of people who have left India in the 60s and they
Mm-hmm.
live in the UK, but they're still in the 60s in UK.
Mm-hmm.
Their
So,
lifestyle is very much very Indian. They don't go
mm-hmm.
for any local. They don't know comedy shows. They'll watch Kapil Sharma on TV. They'll
Mm-hmm.
go for a Bollywood
Yeah.
movie. They don't know about this new art form called stand-up comedy, where a person can go and talk and make fun of the establishment, fun of
Mm-hmm.
himself, fun of life. You know,
Yeah.
they don't understand that.
Fair enough.
So it was little difficult that way for them. So that was one of the worst tour because he lost a lot of money. We got paid, but he lost a lot of money.
Okay. So like
Yeah.
social media, like there's so many platforms. Like you are active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. So how do you stay on top of all these platforms?
It's a hard work, but you've got to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because finally you have to sell tickets,
Yeah.
and you sell tickets only through these social because kids nowadays nobody reads newspaper, nobody's
Mm-hmm.
seeing TV, and how do you get your point across? How do you
Mm-hmm.
how do you know fans know that you're performing in say in Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
social media is really the only way to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I entered comedy thanks to social media. So I was a big when Facebook started, maybe in 2009, 2010. I was one of the first adopters of Facebook. Like I went on the platform and I used to love the platform. First time a platform was there, you could express your opinions in the
Mm-hmm.
public and get immediate gratification, positive or negative.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So, and that's how I started. I used to put funny tweets and funny Facebook posts, and people say, "Hey, you're very funny. You're very funny. You're so
Mm-hmm.
original. Why don't you try your hand in stand-up comedy?" So, social media is required.
Mm-hmm.
It's a both a boon and a bane.
Yeah.
Boon in terms of
Reach.
popularity,
Yeah.
selling tickets, reaching out to your fans. Bane is because you have to be continuous. The algorithms are such that
Mm-hmm.
if you're not feeding the beast continuously,
Will
then they
disappear.
start you disappear. So
Yeah.
those are the things. Yeah.
So
But I
like,
do it. I like it. I try to. There are a lot of companies nowadays who say, "Oh, give it to us. We'll handle it." I said, "No, no. This is something which you should do on your own because
mhm,
your humor, your character reflects on social media." Yeah,
fair enough. So basically, LinkedIn का अलग content will work, Instagram Reels अलग content, normal Instagram post and all.
yeah, yeah.
So what's your mechanism उसको manage? Like every algorithm needs to be gamed. इस time पे post करो, etc. etc.
तो लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल नहीं ऐसे कुछ नहीं मैंने ऐसे कुछ नहीं करता हूँ जब मेरा मन
Okay.
पड़ता है मैं करता हूँ सो यूजली मैं पॉलिटिकल ओपिनियन इज आई कीप इट ऑन ट्विटर एक्स
Okay.
राइट नाउ यू नो
Okay. Yeah.
Facebook also is very much similar, you know. Instagram is more pictures, reels, this,
Yeah.
that, photographs and things like that. And yeah, LinkedIn, I try to see that I don't get too political, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because वहाँ तो sorry to say वहाँ भी सब गधे हैं. Okay, you
Yeah.
put up one tweet about what is happening in the country. Hey, this is not a place for this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I just add a word corporate to it and then you'll feel happy to it? I don't know. You know what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like that. But it's right. Every platform requires a separate content as much
Mm-hmm.
as possible. Yeah.
Makes sense. And then speaking to the commenting part, how do you deal with toxicity?
Oh no no. I think I'm pretty old enough. At one time it used to bother me. Now it doesn't bother me. See,
Mm-hmm.
I always say that if it's like if I know you, for example, you know, and if
Mm-hmm.
I post something and you comment on it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying my opinion is the final or is the right opinion. I could have
Mm-hmm.
made a mistake, you know.
Yep.
But so if a person, a friend I know is commenting and you know has got a point to it, I'll read it. But
Mm-hmm.
some random guy with no freaking name, with no
Mm-hmm.
proper ID, no photograph, nothing, you know, with some Insta handle which reads whatever, you know, funny something something at something.com and
Yeah.
all I'm going to, you know, comment on that or respond to.
Makes
Because
sense.
there are guys just waiting there to pull you down. There are guys just waiting there to, you know, you write the most, anything you write, they'll still comment negative.
Makes sense. Awesome. And like in the last segment, I want to know a bit more about Atul as a person. So,
Mm.
how do you unwind?
Unwind, I go to the gym. I
Mhm.
like to go to the gym. I like to exercise as
Mhm.
much as possible. I'm not in shape right now, but yeah, I like to do that. The last 1 year I've been touring a lot, and I'm also a foodie, so I love to eat out.
Mhm.
So, so yeah,
Yeah.
like in America when I went, I love the Pakistani restaurants over there. You know.
Nice. And then secondly, I mean, there's so much competition out there. There's new comics stemming out every day. So how do you stay at the top of your game, or what do you think about competition?
No, just you have to just be natural to yourself. You have your voice of your own. You know, like I do. Most of my set is in English.
Mhm.
Okay, and I do a little bit Hindi. So there's a lot of pressure nowadays, you know, you should do Hindi because Hindi comedians are just reaching out exponentially to more number of people. You know,
Yeah.
thanks to 4G, 5G, all of that. A lot of people told me, Gedo, why don't you do in Hindi? You can speak. I said, no, I think in English, I write in English. I don't want to change. You know, I came to do comedy. I left a corporate job to do
Mhm.
something which I love. I'm not going to be fake about it, you know.
Mhm. Fair
And I
enough.
want to reach out to different audiences. Like when I go to, like, I remember the first time I did my show in Seattle was in 2018.
Okay.
And when I went on stage and there was so 400, 500 people in the audience. And I remember specifically in Seattle, and there were a whole lot of Americans, white
Oh
Americans, who
wow.
had come to watch my show.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Makes sense.
I was in the green room, and my manager told me, my promoter came and told me, sir, there are at least 20, 25 Americans who have come. Now I don't know how they came. They were not my
Mhm.
fans. Maybe they came with some
Mhm.
Indians. Maybe they
Mhm.
just saw a poster somewhere.
Ha.
They said, okay, let's go and hear an Indian comedian. Let's hear his
Mhm.
voice. You know.
Makes
So I
sense.
said, yeah, no. I said, no problem, because what has happened is early in the past, some Hindi comedians have gone there.
Yeah.
You know, most Hindi comedians also their poster is in English. You know,
True. True. Yeah.
so people have entered and then they get thrown off
Mhm.
on stage where they see five guys Americans sitting in the front who don't
Mhm.
understand a damn word. So then
Mhm.
they go and tell them that you take your refund and go. This is in Hindi. Maybe you
Mhm.
won't understand anything. You know. But
Makes
I
sense.
have a lot of fun. Like I just did a show last week and there were like some four people from four Brits sitting in the audience. You
Nice.
know, and I have no problem. In fact, I enjoy them because that challenges me to see that they are laughing. You know.
For sure.
And
Like
sometimes the joke they will not understand. Then you explain the joke and two jokes come out of that also.
तो on stage भी like काफी रहता है कि like maybe new jokes come on stage and you have to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
ready.
Obviously, that to, something or the other happens. You know, somebody and as a comedian, you have to address whatever is happening in the room. Somebody comes late. Somebody drops something. Somebody's phone rings. You know,
Yeah,
somebody sneezes. You know, you have to just say God bless you and move on. What?
makes sense. And then what do you think about fame? Do you think it can all go away one day?
Of course, it can all go away one day. Yeah, I totally, I'm a big thing of that. So it can. Today is there. Tomorrow it will all go away because you know it happened with Bollywood. You've seen so many Bollywood stars who at one time at the rise. Now
Mhm.
nobody knows where they are. You know.
Yeah.
So it can all go away. So try to, you know, just be honest to your craft. Try to be. good to your fans and your followers, whoever your audience is. Just be very true to yourself. I think that's very important. Keep on doing your work, keep on writing, keep on hitting the stage. That's the comedian. You have to do that, on a daily basis.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure. And the last question, what advice would you give to a 25-year-old Atul?
25, Ratul, stick to your job. The time will come when you think you're right to do something. Travel the world.
Mhm,
Travel the world if you can. Travel India, travel the world. Travel.
mhm,
Travel gives you a lot of more perspective.
mhm,
Meet people. Learn a language. Learn a different language, a foreign language. Maybe Spanish.
mhm,
Like I tell my daughters in the same age group, and I tell them learn a new language. Very very important. Go travel the world, go slow, go solo, travel the world, stay in hostels, take a backpacking trip somewhere. You get to learn so much about the world. We are very very this, and nowadays things are very easily accessible.
mhm.
You can
Yep.
save money, work and enjoy. Party hard, work hard, party hard.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Atul. Lot of fun talking to you and learning from you.
Thank you, Kushal. Thank you. I wish you all the best. Hope to
Yep.
see you on stage one day. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I did. And please like, share, and subscribe to Nails and Hammers on your favorite podcasting platform.